When do Ubisoft not lose? I mean, seriously, they've had just strings of problems. Today we're going to get into these Ubisoft problems. Alright, so let's just go. You don't understand NFTs, you don't understand them, I don't understand them. That is the Ubisoft line.
We're only gamers after all.
Just stupid, frothy, slabbery gamers here only to engage in digital marketplaces and purchase XP and gold boosts. Their NFTs are going to be different in that they are going to pursue the industry's first playable and environmentally conscious NFT initiative. Yes, they did in fact beat Team 17 to the punch because they're currently being clowned for doing Worms NFTs. Okay, so obviously environmental impact stuff, that's all been thoroughly documented. However, that is like, I think that's the stuff that's like running off the Ethereum chain. With Ubisoft's though, I think minting one of their NFTs, like you're dealing with about the same as, was it 30 seconds of watching Netflix or was it 30 minutes? There's another reason to be pissed off with the NFT. So even if they are perfectly environmentally friendly, etc., I mean, you look at CSGO Lotto. You look at all of those game marketplace things and you think, well, is that good? Is that what we want? Is that how we want to frame the time that the times that the players actually spend in games? Because that's also a topic of discussion, and that's very much the one that Ubisoft are keen to have because they think it's a good thing that we should be happy for.
Yeah, sure. You believe what you want to believe?
Yeah. So, I mean, there was some dumb stuff like, the Ghost Recon one. It was like 600 in-game hours.
Oh, that was nuts.
So, yeah, there's that. Of course, during the first time they had really, rubbish sales. A few other people, including Stalker 2 and voice actor Troy Baker, sort of talked about their own NFT things. Troy has since pulled out, by the way. But as for Ubisoft, though, they really do seem to think that, no, the players just don't get it. So Nicholas here, who's the VP of Strategic Innovations, or of the Strategic Innovations Lab, and Didier Genevois, yeah, who's the blockchain technical director, they actually responded to this backlash in a rather bizarre review. Yeah, basically, right? So gamer feedback was negative to the point of being aggressive, as gamers are wont to do.
What an incredible start.
Yep. The big names in the game press were also tepid in their analysis. One way or another, this was a landmark moment in gaming. I'm not interested in investing or making money from games, but having also kept a close eye on blockchain and NFT games over the last 4 years, I can see the potential that the technology has to offer gamers greater freedom. Woo! True ownership of not just a product, but a stake in the gaming ecosystem as we, that we create through play and community, that is a future with a positive potential if done right, if promises are kept.
Yes. I think, there is a lack of cultural understanding to say true ownership of not just a product and if promises are kept in the same, sentence or the same paragraph. Because what are we as gamers most terrified of, almost outside of NFTs for the time being? It's not having ownership. It's every company trying to take that away in whatever form they can. And this person's like, yeah, it's great. It's great. True ownership. Wouldn't you love to own your games? Yes, we used to, by the way.
Yeah. So Ubisoft were expecting this because they say it's not an easy concept to grasp. I actually think it is. But in fairness, I do see a lot of like NFT sort of takes and stuff, sometimes the ones that come from art Twitter, where it's like, okay, it's clear that, maybe the reflexive backlash to this is warranted. However, I'm not really sure there's a great understanding of the actual underlying issue. Sometimes it's one of those things, but no, I think this is all a very easy concept to grasp. Really, they say the courts is the first step towards something bigger, and that over time players will understand the value that that's being offered with this system. Well, I'd say a lot of players actually fundamentally do understand it's that, yes, I own this NFT. This is a unique, thing. It's unique. It's on the chain. It's verifiable. All of that. It means that, this in-game item is indelibly linked to this NFT that I own. It is here in my, my whatever, right? Yeah. And then they're like, okay, but in terms of end user experience,
yeah, because people.
Unless somebody wants to farm the NFTs, to,
Yeah.
trade and sell and to make some money. Obviously, which Ubisoft would be
which
trying
is
to get a slice off.
that's not why people play games.
Yeah.
Mostly, they don't play games to earn money. They go to work to earn money so they can buy games. But I think, again, to talk about like the cultural understanding here, players will better understand the value we offer them. I think, again, the vast majority of these aggressive gamers actually want Ubisoft to offer better value in the game with better game design. Maybe cheaper games, maybe more games, but they want better value from the gaming experience. Because no one's like, oh yeah, I'll log into my Ubisoft so I can earn some money. It's a possibility, sure, but, it is a future that I think people can look at and go, I don't want that. And so we'll rage against the machine until we get our games.
Yeah. Now, of course, they're framing, the player anger as being, oh, well, it's unfortunate, whatever, but it shows great love and passion for, what Ubisoft does. So that's cool. Yeah. So he doesn't think players understand what the NFTs can actually do for you and me that's actually positive, and that they're just too bogged down in the current situation and context of them being portrayed as environmentally damaging or just a tool for speculation. Ubisoft are trying to say it's neither of those things, and in fairness, Ubisoft wouldn't really want it to be either of those things. What they want is to create a easily acceptable, uncontroversial market. That's what they want. And of course, they're going to say that that is a market that drives things that are good for us, to which we're all rather suspicious, to say the very least. Here's a quote. But we at Ubisoft are seeing, what we're seeing is the end game. The end game is about giving players the opportunity to resell their items once they're finished with them or they're finished playing the game itself. So it's really, for them, it's really beneficial, but they don't get it for now.
I mean, I'm sorry to keep it interjecting, but I think this is really funny.
It is. Yeah.
They're finished. They get to resell their items, but we're not allowed to resell the fucking game. Like, what? What's going on?
That's it.
The lack of understanding in whoever wrote this is so unbelievably clear. I can see why, because obviously, like, I know people were annoyed at this, but I could see doubly so now why.
I think it is just, tech guy who sees the tech picture and the market it can create, maybe not being, well meshed with the player experience, which basically is, what? I don't want to sell my items. I'm also very worried about all of the weird incentives that could create for you, platform owner. Also, I want my games to be games that I can play and not platforms for digital work, so that a NFT cosmetic market is created that you, Ubisoft, get to profit off. I mean, a lot of us love Steam, and you know what? I think Steam's incredible, and certainly now, as developers, like going into the Steam backend, seeing the discoverability that we get from Steam, fantastic stuff. But also, whenever Valve got into the business of Steam, they certainly lost a bit of focus on games. A lot of people would say that about Valve, and of course, we're all very happy that Half-Life Alyx perhaps represents Valve getting back into games. But, the money's in the platform.
Absolutely.
Which is what makes it tricky. Now, later on, there's just some talk about the chain, about how Tezos isn't the obvious choice for building NFTs, and it's a bit awkward, but they're happy to hamstring themselves in the name of being committed to an environmentally friendly choice. So, basically just talking about that. Now, another sort of source of concern is that just the next cosmetics will be NFTs, and that'll be that. To which they say that at no point will they force people to use quartz or digits. So I suppose expect their sort of future strategy for these to be like the ultra premium special items. Maybe they don't want to just run that straight into being a sort of a super commodity space. Now, he also does believe that decentralization is great. Of course, a lot of the crypto advocates are very pro-decentralization in many cases. I, too, am pro-decentralization. Of course, can be a very good thing. But, there's obviously worries here. So Ubisoft as a company are worth about $3 billion, but their whole product ecosystem, according to him, is worth more than $15 billion. The ecosystem is bigger than the company. Players help to create the ecosystem. As such, in the interest of decentralization for a centralized company like Ubisoft, that's to open the gates of their games and make them bigger by sharing a stake with our players. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I think this
Sus.
is the big thing where it's like, okay, you company with all of the power, you wish to decentralize. No, I don't think you do. That goes against all of the, classical incentives you have. And nothing you've done so far has proved that this is like a mission of your company. You're just saying, oh, I know what you want. I'm going to tell you we're going to give you what you want. Using technical terms, and then we'll not actually ever give it to you, or we will on a technicality. But I guess it's just, if you examine the incentives of people who are saying things, you're like, well, there's no way you believe this. There's no way.
Yeah. Or like at the very best, it's giving up that tiny stake to then massively expand things so that you can then skim as much as you can, because obviously all of this is going to be good.
Exactly.
So there you go. And of course, Ubisoft's other Tom Clancy games could potentially be the first port of call. Obviously, if they're sort of feeling within their own universe, it would be easier to share those items between the games.
A Division NFT wouldn't have anyone bat an eyelid, for example.
Yeah. Okay, there's that. So there you go. Us gamers, we just don't know what's best for us. Now, there's another story here. Hyperscape, nearing the end. Which is actually sad because it's not a bad game. It's just, again, a thing of Ubisoft. It's like, okay, you made an entry in a market. How about you make a cool, unique thing that gets people really, excited?
Yeah.
So Hyperscape, which is their free-to-play battle royale, it'll be shutting down April 28th. They had a short blog post just detailing that, they wanted to make a vertical sort of CQB, fast-paced, sort of battle royale game. And by all accounts, it's pretty good. Just didn't find a market. So released back in July 2020 as a part of their attempt to basically muscle their way into BRs, which at the time were being dominated by the current market leaders. And it's that thing where Hyperscape's like pretty damn good game. Its launch actually wasn't terrible. I completely forgot about it, and because I don't really watch Twitch basically at all, I didn't know this, but I mean, its launch did pretty decently. It topped Twitch viewership with 500k concurrence on reveal day. So from that explosive launch to now, where, the game's kind of falling over. But basically, the engagement just did not carry across. The viewership fell off a cliff. Didn't really make a dent in the genre.
Yep, which, I mean, I think that's the most unfortunate thing to happen to Ubisoft in a long time. Because they make a game that's like, hey, this is actually kind of innovative and kind of good. You've misallocated your capital and now you've made a game way too late. That's extremely unfortunate, but that's what happens when you play those high-stake games of, what if we smash a saturated market? Because you can do that, but...
Yeah.
But can you, I guess, is the question.
I guess just that thing, it didn't have that sauce that Apex had, and I just wish Ubisoft would focus more on, creating markets.
Yeah.
Than, because take Rainbow Six Siege. It's a competitive shooter, but it really carved out its own niche.
Yeah, it's
I'd love to see more of that from them.
Yeah, it's very much, this doesn't necessarily compete with CSGO or Valorant. It doesn't necessarily compete with any other shooter in the market. It's actually a unique, being that, I guess the tactical shooter, but with all the technological focus is actually really cool.
I suppose you have to be more unique than just having a few points of differentiation. It has to be in a broader way that feels unique to somebody at first glance, because that's what's going to get their interest.
Yep.
Now, a game that could have done that, actually, is Skull and Bones, because it could come out and feel completely different to...
Sea of Thieves?
To Sea of Thieves, right? Well, we have an update from Ubisoft Singapore because things still go bad for Ubisoft. So recently, they, rather funnily, had good news for Ubisoft Singapore. Basically, their win is a labour union confirming that the Singapore office has adequate structural systems in place to appropriately handle any reports of workplace misconduct or abuse. And this group, the TAFEP, their investigation actually began last summer following that Kotaku report that we covered here that was detailing the toxic work environment, or the allegedly toxic work environment at the studio. Also, some race pay disparity claims alleging that the Singaporean staff were really not being paid as well as, I mean, the word is expat, but I suppose it's a bit more appropriate to say like maybe a French migrant, because you're migrating for work. You know, it's that weird thing where sometimes it's like we use the word expat just because like it's someone from a rich country.
It's a nicer word.
Yeah. So yes, the migrants from well-off or maybe more Ubisofty countries like, say, Canada or France were sort of being treated better than the Singaporean people. So that was one of the allegations as well. Now, this investigation also concluded that any pay disparity at Ubi Singapore was due to traditional business reasons, such as experience and seniority. So I suppose one way that could be explained is getting senior staff from established studios.
Yeah.
Maybe in France, maybe in Canada, and then, you know, staffing up with locals who don't have that experience in those established studios.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, of this investigation, the managing director, Darryl Long, said, "We've put best practices in place to ensure a safe, respectful, inclusive, and equitable workplace, and that they will continue striving to be an exemplary employer in Singapore and the region, one that attracts and retains the best talent." And there you go. That's what that body found. I mean, certainly we had one email that was saying, "Hey, stuff ain't great in the studio."
Yeah.
We have all, so I suppose it can still be that they have all the processes, but evidently outcomes happen that don't make people happy.
Yeah, that's the kind of awkward thing. We are so used to these being free wins, but sometimes they're just not. Sometimes they're a bit more complicated than the breadth of one kind of relatively decent report can put out.
Yeah, no, that's it. There's gray, and I suppose if there's a lot of staff who feel very dissatisfied at this, I imagine this is the time that journalists will be reaching out to the sources that they spoke with, that of course created this original story, and probably trying to find some more information.
Yep.
So we'll just have to wait and see, because at this stage, I mean, how can we really speculate other than say, still a little bit iffy and sus about it, just purely because Ubisoft had so many structural issues that, you know, it's like, yeah, all the processes could be in place, but bad things could still be happening at the studio. Right now, though, we don't really know sort of super firm either way. Although we certainly do know that Skull and Bones is nowhere to be seen.
Skull and Bones,
and obviously is going to say that there's some degree of dysfunction going on.
Yep, and their organizational focus is on telling us that we don't know what NFTs are and we should shut up and accept them, while they also made a battle royale that was good and they had to kill it.
So, yeah.
What a great time to be Ubisoft.
Great stuff for Ubisoft, and on that tremendous surprise, that's it for us. So you can check out this video or that video, who knows where they'll appear in the screen, and I'll see you next time.